In real life football, the Super League is one of the most controversial ideas. However, in FIFA, it can be one of the most fun ways to play. And that's why with FIFA 22 just about to be released, I've ranked my 5 favorite different versions of Super Leagues you can create, and I'm going to be telling you all about them in today's video. If you've got any suggestions for any Super Leagues you like doing, leave them in the comments below. But let's get started with our first Super League. For those of you not too familiar with geography, the Atlantic Super League doesn't actually include many nations that have Atlantic borders. However, it does feature 2 of the biggest nations in European football, especially internationally, the Netherlands and Belgium. So it features teams from these 6 countries: Ajax, PSV and Feyenoord, Anderlecht, Helsinki. There's a lot of really big names in European football who all wanted to join together and form the same league. Thankfully for you, every single one of these will be on FIFA 23, and this would actually be one of the largest leagues in FIFA if you did create this. It would have an estimated income of £350 million, which would make it one of the top 5 biggest leagues in Europe, something that Ajax, Feyenoord, PSV, Celtic and Rangers were all keen to do so they could continue to compete in Europe. With leagues like the English League, French League, Spanish League having so much money, combining all of these different leagues together would give these smaller nations a fighting chance of actually staying relevant in European football. Because it features teams from 7 different nations, you do actually have a really good selection of clubs depending on what you want to choose for a career mode save. The closest you can get is 16 teams in a league, so if you put them all into Norway, not only do you get Champions League matches, but you also do get the right amount of teams in your league. But you do have a great selection. You can choose free-flowing football from Ajax, you can maybe be a bit more defensive with someone like Rangers, or you can go full target man football with Rosenborg or Helsinki. It's a lot of choice, and I really do recommend you give the Atlantic League a go. One of the most wanted Super Leagues around the world would be the British Super League. Now, I'm sure you've heard the rumours of Celtic or Rangers wanting to join the Premier League because, of course, the amount of money in the league, the huge fan bases these 2 clubs have in Scotland, and just the ability for them to hopefully be playing European football, but in the English Premier Division instead. Of course, Wales is already part of the EFL, with Swansea and Cardiff both playing in the Championship, and the remainder of the league would probably be the 16 strongest English teams, which would include teams, of course, like Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, down to Aston Villa's, Crystal Palace's and Leeds United's. So it would have a big difference in talent and, of course, a lot of different playing styles and an absolute ton of money. You could go all Wales and try and make Cardiff the best team in the world with only Welsh players, maybe bring back Gareth Bale from America. You could go full Scotland and maybe try and recreate the Lisbon Lions with only Scottish players. Or maybe you could prove that English football is better than either of the Scottish and Welsh systems and try and win the league with someone like a West Ham United. There's a ton of choice, and playing in the Premier League, of course, gives you access to a ton of real faces, a ton of licensed teams, and a ton of stadiums, especially with Celtic and Rangers both getting their stadiums on this year's game. You could even take it one further and start adding other Scottish teams to the English football pyramid. Hibernian would probably be the next best team, and they're going to be the lower Championship or maybe League One. And you've got teams like Aberdeen that would be similar, and a few more that would be even lower down the tiers. So why don't you put some of those in and maybe do a road to glory with a Scottish team while you're starting out in the English league system. So this next Super League is, of course, one of the most famous. It's the one that nearly happened until there was a massive protest around 2 years ago. It featured 18 clubs, including 6 from the Premier League, 2 from Italy, 1 from France, 1 from Germany, and a set of rotating guest teams that included the likes of Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, and Marseille. So it was going to work as a cup competition with 16 teams. 5 guest teams would be replaced each season based on their performance in a secondary league. Now, a secondary league is just what they called the existing league structure that still existed. So the Premier League would become a secondary league to the European Super League. There's no way of actually recreating this in FIFA, but what you can do is try and find a league that has 16 teams in it. I believe Norway and Belgium are both very close, but I'm not 100% sure on how many teams are in each league. Then just add all of the biggest 16 teams that you can find. I put a bunch on the screen just then, but you can find a huge list of teams that were rumored to be involved or rumored to have accepted the invitation. It'd be a super fun save and probably not that long of one because you would already have all the best players in the same league. It would be fairly challenging if you're starting out as someone like Napoli because their team isn't quite as good as someone like Juventus in the Italian league, let alone Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool and PSG. So you would have a bit of a struggle if you choose one of the slightly worse teams, but you would also have a ton of money in your league and most likely get all of your players poached by Manchester City. It's an interesting idea. Hopefully it doesn't happen in real life, but if it does, then FIFA, I'm sure, will add the league, and I think it would be quite fun to actually play on FIFA, despite being a bit of a disgrace in real life. Next up, we have a Super League that I've mentioned on 2 previous videos on the channel. So if you want a bit more information on them, make sure to check out the description where I'll have linked my 2 videos I've made before. But the Beneliga is something that exists in other sports. It's very similar to that Atlantic Super League, but it only features Holland and Belgium. So it would be 18 teams in total with 8 from Belgium and 10 from Holland. I've put some of the suggested teams on the screen right there, but you can fill out the rest with the teams that you find interesting or like the kits or fancy playing a career mode with. So this league was very close to happening only a couple of years ago. However, last year, after being approved by every single football team in both of the league systems, it actually collapsed and isn't going to happen anymore. So the reason this league is happening is very similar to why the Atlantic Super League would be happening. So the Belgian league at the minute earns 300 million and the Netherlands league earns 450. Whereas this combined league would earn over 1 billion, which would put it just about the same size as the French First Division. It would be super interesting with the abilities of both Holland and Belgium. I'm sure you know their national teams are both full of talent at the moment and both absolutely on the rise. People like Kevin De Bruyne have come out of Belgium, and I'm sure you know half the Manchester United team who have come out of the Ajax Academy. So having the combined leagues would give you a really good opportunity to bring some of these young players through. I think the best way to do this is to add the Dutch teams to the Belgian league on FIFA and have them all playing in Belgium, just because I think it has more room for different teams. So if you do this, then have a really fun save and probably focus on youth academies and stuff like that, because it's a super cool way of playing FIFA. Now, when I think of Super Leagues, this is the Super League that I think of on FIFA. It's the one that a ton of people play on FIFA Reddit, and I see it all the time on Twitter and even on my own Discord, where there's a link in the description if you want to join. So what you do for this one is head over to a website like FIFA or any kind of team ranking website. Select the 92 best teams and throw them all in the English system. So put the best ones in the Premier League, and then the next best in the Championship, the next best in League One, and the worst of the 92 in League 2. So from this, you've got a huge structure with all the best teams in the world. Of course, from here, it's not too difficult to imagine what you're going to do. Probably start at the bottom and work your way up is the most fun way of doing it, but it makes competitions like the FA Cup and the League Cup both feel like you're playing a Champions League, even if you're technically only in League 2. If you start out with one of the best teams, then the challenge is to try and keep your team at the top, because you will have teams like Real Madrid getting Premier League money, which makes them even more scary because they are getting huge amounts themselves. I think this is, again, a really interesting way of playing FIFA, and if you do give this a go, let me know who you've picked, because it's always interesting to see that kind of information. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you do give a Super League a go if you get bored of playing with the standard leagues on FIFA 23. Of course, everything in this video can probably be applied to FIFA 22 as well, so don't feel like you're missing out if you haven't upgraded the game just yet. But thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Check out my channel to see some other Super League guides that I've made in the past, and I'll hopefully see you very soon for another video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.